John, another really important topic to discuss is location. I mentioned in my experience that I had to move right from Virginia to Florida is where I ended up, and that was a little bit of a challenge. I had moved a lot already in my time in the military, and I was ready to not have to move again. And then it's like, all right, well, and I ended up moving again. But could you just elaborate on that a little bit? I know I'm going to get the opportunity to share me my background, but I want to give you the first shot to kind of how do you approach that question?
Well, so here you are. You're getting ready to start a whole new career. If you do make the decision to get out and you do make the decision to come to the business world, go all the way back to the day you got commissioned, the day you became, an O1, wherever your source of commission was. And imagine saying, I'd like to become, a flag officer. I'd like to become a general. I'd love to become an admiral. I'd love to become an O6 commander, whatever your goal was. And then say, I never want to live west of the Mississippi, or I never want to live east of the Mississippi. Whatever branch you served in, they'd laugh at you. They'd say, you're crazy. Come on, this is a global force. I mean, you can't do that and not be successful. Well, again, the great thing about this transition is you get to pick your lanes. Hey, listen, if you want to go back home and you want to go make $85,000 a year, you want to go make $90,000 a year in zip code 12345, and in 5 years make $94,326, and in 10 years make $102,002 and not have great growth, you can do it. But don't kid yourself. If you want to go join Johnson & Johnson, if you want to go join a national or a global company that truly is trying to hire you for a high potential position. What does that mean? It's not just kind of fancy talk and this is every position has growth. I'm talking about a position that the impetus behind the hire is to bring talent into an organization to grow it. Now, why in the world would a national or global company want to bring on a high potential candidate if all you want to do is live at zip code 12345? And I'm not here to minimize people who want to go back home. We recognize the world that we live in, especially now post-COVID. Everybody wants to focus on location, and that's okay. But for us, we believe sometimes location can be the enemy of fit. Okay, we believe that your focus should be to go out there and find the right opportunity, find success, and then leverage that success to get the location of choice. And Derek, I think you're a perfect, modern example of that. What happened in your career?
Yeah, thanks, John. I mentioned before we moved to Florida from Virginia. Could have been worse places to live, but it wasn't where we wanted to be, right? I wanted to be closer to family. I'd already moved several times, having been on active duty. I've already deployed, and we had a good group of friends where we were. There was a lot of reasons to stay. But at the end of the day, we were looking at it in terms of the long-term goal. Like where did we want to be ultimately? We have to be successful now. That was our priority in the first step, right? My wife and I, we knew the fit, the opportunity, that was our first priority. And then we can find the location down the road. And to your point about relocating, when you're in a big company and you're in a company that's seeking to see you develop and grow and be promoted, it's not like the difference between the military and civilian world is whether or not you move. It's just, do you have input into it? Do you have any sort of input? Do you get to determine more about the where and the when and the why, as opposed to they tell you jump and you say how high in the military? It's different, but it doesn't mean you don't ever move. And so when I went to Florida as a pharmaceutical sales rep, my goal was really to get back to Virginia. And I was able to do that by performance. Really, at the end of the day, you have to do the job and do it well. And I was blessed that I was able to have some success in a few years as a sales rep. But my developmental path and the reason that a company comes to an alliance hiring event is because they want to invest in future leaders. They didn't hire any salesperson out of the alliance conference, and I would put myself on that list as a sales rep for a career. They hire them as a future sales leader. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to do a job as a sales representative, I would say a pretty good job. And then I was able to get promoted into a sales training position, which I ended up relocating my family to Illinois, where our headquarters were. And from there, I spent about a year in that job, and I was promoted to a regional sales manager role in 2019. And lo and behold, I got back to Virginia. So keeping kind of my ultimate goal as getting back to where I started, that allowed me to be promoted into that role. So instead of being in my ideal location on year one, where I'd still be a sales rep today, waiting for that sales manager role 8 years later, because that job never came open in my backyard. But by being flexible down the road, it allows you to promote into that higher level role. So you talk about compensation again. Well, how are you able to double the compensation in a shorter period of time? Is because you have the flexibility to promote into a role which may require you to move, but it actually might get you closer to where you want to be in the first place by having some flexibility up front. And that's what I was able to experience in my career, and my family's really been blessed from it.
No, absolutely. And, as I said, earlier, I think the 1A and the 1B great benefits of the transition is being able to provide a high quality of life for your loved ones, and having some control over your life, and location matters. And we're not one of those folks that, tell you that you should be, the Marine Corps, I know we have probably some Marines that are listening today, but I love your saying that you all talk about is, bloom where you're planted. And it's a great selfless motto and principle. And that's not what we're advocating for. What we're advocating for is go find success and then leverage that success. Similarly, the job that changed my life, and I'm a kid from Boston, and my wife was born in the Bronx and raised in the DC area. My second job that changed my life brought me to the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. Never thought I'd be there, but it was transformative. And after, I got a little lucky in business and sold an Inc. 500 company, I turned to my wife and I said, pick a spot on the map and this is where we'll live. And that's why we live in Raleigh, North Carolina today. We could give you story after story. We know that location matters for quality of life. We just advocate, don't compromise success. Don't sacrifice success for the short-term zip code. If you play long ball, and I'm not talking 20-year long ball, I'm talking 3 to 5 years, because what happens in the business world is when you're good, and Derek just gave you an example, when you're good and you earn promotions, they give you some say-so of where you want to go. Not like big Navy, not like big Army, not like how, the military personnel system, for the most part does things. So that's our thoughts on location. Does that make sense, Derek?